the first thing that you might want to start practicing with your dog is to teach them how to lay down on command. I'm going to show you guys a couple of methods that you can teach your dog. So the most common one is to use a bit of food and to lure them into the down. So if I bring Olive over here, come Olive, and if I get a piece of food in my hand, and if you've got a really young puppy, this normally works a treat, is you get it really up against their nose, and then you just want to draw a line down their chin, down their chest, and in between their paws. And usually what happens is they lay down to get it, but I'm not going to give it to her until her elbows go down. So there, when her elbows hit the ground, that's when I'm going to give her the food. So I'll show you that one more time. So I'll get her up, and we'll just use the food and a bit of lead to get her up. Get her all interested in the food. I'm holding it under my thumb like I've shown you guys to do in the past. And you're gonna let them sniff it and lick at it. And then you're gonna draw a line straight down their chest, in between their paws, hold it to the floor, make it really difficult for them to get. And as soon as the elbows go down, you reward it. So that is probably the most simple method to teach a dog to lay down. There is some other ones that you can try. And the first one that I'll show you now, if I just get her up. When you're training your dog, always make sure that you've got a lead on, just because you might want them to do certain things, and you know, the lead's always going to make it much easier. And actually this next technique is using the lead. So if I get her up, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put a little bit of downward pressure, and again I'm thinking about drawing a line down her chest and in between her paws with this lead now. So I'm actually going to use my opposite hands to give a little bit of downward pressure, just drawing down again, just pulling down in between her paws. Yes. So I'm going to put a little bit of pressure just in between her paws. Yes. So for some dogs that works, but for some other dogs that's going to really kick into their opposition reflex. They don't want to go down, you're pulling them, they're going to go in the opposite direction. So for some dogs that's going to be a little bit more of a difficult technique, and actually that lead pressure is something that I like to pair with the other techniques that I'm showing you. So you could pair a little bit of that lead pressure with a little bit of luring down if your dog's really struggling with the luring. It's not always the best to just go straight into lead pressure to give a down, and just remember what you're not doing when you're giving that lead pressure is dragging them down and forcing them down. What you're trying to do is you're just trying to create enough pressure so pressure exists. You're going to draw it straight down their chest, and again right in between their paws, so it's a direct line going down. The dog might just sort of oppose a little bit, and they're going to try and sort of pull upwards, and you're just going to keep the pressure on. Don't pull them down to the ground, just keep pressure on so it's at a consistent level. And then usually what happens is the dog starts to realize that they can't go up, so they go down, and you just follow them down with the pressure. So I'll do that one more time. Good girl. And this time I'm going to use a bit of food as well. Down. So I'm not going to give it until her elbows go down. Yes. So be really strict on that you're not going to give the food until the elbows go down. Then when it comes to using the word, what I like to do is, like anything, I'm going to try and just see if the dog will do this stuff without using the word. So now, for example, if I just don't say anything, she'll still do the behavior that I'm trying to teach. I'm just going to keep saying down, split second before I sort of initiate the process of getting her into a down, just so she starts to associate that word with the behavior that we're showing. And over time, what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to phase out the amount of help that you're giving the dog, because at this point now what we're doing, or what I'm doing with Olive, is I'm giving her lots of help. I'm helping her with the lead, I'm helping her with my hand, and I'm helping her with the food. Now in time I would like to be able to just say the word that she would have associated with this behavior that I'm showing her now, but without so much help. So what you do is over time, you slowly but surely start to phase out how much help you give. So if you started using lead pressure, or if you started using food, you want to think about phasing out the amount of lead pressure, or phasing out how close the food is, or actually phasing out using food at all. So for example, now I've got no food in my hand, but I'm going to get her up. Olive, come. Good girl. And I'm just going to use my hand, closed fist, and I'm just going to point down at the ground with my closed fist, and I'm going to follow her down with it like this. Yes. And then I'm going to give her food out of the pouch. So over time, what that will turn into is that will turn from a closed fist to a point, and then that point will go from touching the ground every time to just getting a little bit further and further away from the ground until eventually I would be standing up as well. So I'm going to slowly transition from being at the dog's level here like I am on the ground, but I'm going to slowly go to a crouch, to a stand, bending over, to then standing straight. So you're slowly going to phase out the amount of help, but you want to do that gradually over time. What you don't want to do is you don't want to go from step 1 to step 10. You want to make sure that it's really gradual, so the dog really starts to understand it clearly. Now the last one that I'm going to show you guys is a little bit of a tricky one, and you can do it in a couple of different ways. If you've got a big dog, this is going to be slightly more difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let me move that up there. I'm going to make her go in between my legs. So some dogs that really don't want to go down with lead pressure, and maybe they're really not going well with the luring of the food, what you do is you get a lead on, come, and you're going to use a bit of food, and you're going to go under your legs. So use the lead to just show her where to go. And when her back legs go down, yes. So the lead there is just to help her understand where I want her to go, because obviously she's a dog, so she's going to go the quickest route possible. So if I show her a piece of food here and I go like this, she's going to go over the top and try and get it on this side. So I don't want her to do that. So I'm going to use the food, I'm going to guide her back with the food and the lead, and then I'm going to show her very directly where the food is and use the lead to help. Yes. If you've got a bigger dog, this might be a little bit difficult. I mean, she's borderline probably the biggest that you'd want to go for this type of technique, but same process is applied to this. Is you're going to get them to go into the down, mark it with the words, reward with the food. When you're training a dog to do something, all you're really doing is you're just trying to figure out the best way to manipulate the dog to do that thing. So you're trying to manipulate their body in the way that they move and the positions that they go into. And once you figure that out, then you can name it. So a lot of dog training is just figuring out, how can I get the dog to do this? Because they don't understand me saying it. I need to show them. So how can I show them to do this thing? If you've got a tiny dog, you just do it under one leg like that, and you just show them under, and then as soon as their little belly goes to the ground and their chest hits the ground, all elbows and legs down, you give them the roar to say yes. Another way that you can do it, maybe if you've got a little bit of a bigger dog, is you can just sort of be on one knee like this, and you're going to show with the lead, and you're going to get your legs like this, get your yoga position on, and yes, like that. So that's how you can also manipulate a bit of a down. I forgot something really important, and that is how to deliver the food. So when you're doing your downs, make sure that you are shoving the food down into their chest, right in between their paws. So when you're giving them that food, make sure that you're sort of like trying to imagine delivering a letter into a really low letterbox that's just a little bit off the ground. You want to make sure that you're shoving the food into them, and that's going to keep their elbows down on the floor. So let me just show you really quickly. If I bring her over here, come on, down and then in like that. Yeah, so you want to go straight across the floor and into them. What you don't want to do is you don't want to come up like this, because it's going to get them to go up, you see. So if you're standing up, what you'll notice is if you get them to lay down and then you go like this to reward, you're going to get them to go up. So actually you want to say down, down, and then you're going to come down, no, down, and you're going to scoop it straight into them. So almost just like right there forwards, and go down and push forwards into their chest to deliver the food. So you want to go almost down your leg and then push forwards into them, and that will keep them down. That is actually going to be a game changer, so I'm really glad I remembered. I hope that really helps you guys out. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment section below. I'll see you guys on the next video. Hopefully you can teach down now.